didn't you do my niece's party? You're a stripper, right? And I was like, a green Cherokee comes front, blocks me, all four doors open, guns, weapons, rifles come out, and I was like, oh shit. I put my hands up and they threw me in.
Here we go. Empire is the way, all day, every day. And today I got Tony Torres.
One day I get Fugitive Task Force, NYPD, FBI.
Yeah, the real enemy is confusion. If a person's confused, forget it.
But every weekend I go hustle some money and I buy one piece of equipment and I put it in my background.
Here we go. Empire is the way, all day, every day. And today I got Tony Torres, IFBB Pro at 40. So you can't say you can't do it. Owner of my Iron Temple, basically here in Miami. And he is going to be the one teaching you how to pose, teaching you how to lose weight. And today we're going to get into his life story. So Tony, thank you for coming through, man.
Thank you for having me, brother.
Appreciate it, my brother.
Appreciate
it. So Tony, talk to me, man. What got you into the fitness lifestyle?
There's a story to that too. My grandma was diabetic, and we went through a lot with her. She was constantly going to the hospital and constantly, and we had to go and inject her for the diabetes. And then one day she got really sick and was in the hospital. But of course, we're young, we're not thinking about that. Oh, grandma's in the hospital. Okay, she'll be fine. She'll be out. But then they called us to go to the hospital, and she was laid up in the gurney, and I'm in front of her. My mom's across, my sister's here, and what I didn't notice is that because of the diabetes, they cut her leg off, her at the knee. So I didn't notice, but my mom comes over and she goes, "It's okay," and she starts rubbing the nub, and I look down and I said, "What happened to her leg?" She goes, "They cut it off. They had gangrene, and she lost it." And, I started crying, but 2 days later, what got me was that 2 days later, she passed. And I'm like, why? Why even cut off the leg, man? I mean, keep it together, keep her dignity together. But they cut off the leg, and then two days later, she was gone. And I'm like, who knows if she would have kept the leg, you know what I mean? But I said to myself, that was preventable. That didn't have to happen. And diabetes is a hereditary thing, and it runs in the family. And so my sister, she was overweight, and that aggravated me. And I called my sister, listen, and I was rough and tough. I said, listen, don't, and I was cursing. I said, don't let yourself get this way, because what's going to end up happening to you is we're going to end up losing you, because look what happened with grandma, blah, blah, and so on and so forth. And so I brought her down from 160 pounds down to 123. And, thankfully she's been able to maintain that. It skipped over my mom, but nevertheless, my sister's still alive, and she can get it.
How old were you when your grandma went through that situation?
I was 21.
So 21 was kind of like, the beginning of the fitness mentality, or at least being aware of that, like
the beginning of me trying to help people, because I didn't want anybody in my family to go through that again.
Right.
And I said, if I can change people's direction, whether they live or die, that's something I want to do. Mm-hmm. I was training and lifting before, but for me, get myself in shape.
So you try to get it. I've been in those situations where you like, okay, you have a family member or you have somebody very close go through something so traumatic that it kind of like shakes you and makes you want to tell everybody else, hey, I got this information. Why do you think because you helped your sister?
Yes.
Was your sister aware of that, or you had to kind of like show her?
I had to show her. I had to shake her, because again, we were young. My sister I was 21, so she was 20, going out with her girlfriends, drinking and eating crap afterward. And
right.
That's no good for anybody. The problem is when you drink, you lose all inhibition. You're like, oh, I'm hungry. And when you're hungry, whatever goes in your mouth goes in your mouth. And so she was getting more overweight, fatter and fatter. And she wasn't really in the fitness lifestyle until I shook her up and really showed her, look what happened. Do you want this to be you? If not, we got to change it now.
Right. Why do you think she didn't come to that conclusion on her own?
She never hung out with fitness people, and she knew that I trained, but again, I was around town dancing around, and she never saw herself doing the gym.
Right. So if a person's not hanging out with fitness people, you think they're not aware of the fitness journey they should really be on?
Definitely not aware. And if they're aware, they're stuck and don't know how to get there, don't know how to start, not sure where, is it here I go to? Is it here I go to? What do I do? And because they're confused, they don't nothing. Confused people don't buy, confused people don't do nothing because they don't know what to do.
Yeah, the real enemy is confusion. Yes. If a person's confused, forget it.
That's why we don't want to give anybody too many choices. Because they're like, what should I know? This is what you got to do.
Right.
Yes or no. Period. End of story.
Why temple? Like the Iron Temple?
Because it's more than just the gym. It is, to me, something sacred. To me, it's like there's different kinds of temple for different kinds of people, right? Some people use the temple of God. They go to church. That's where they pray and they get for hope. They get hope. They ask for hope. They ask for forgiveness. My Iron Temple is where people go and have hope to continue to live a healthy lifestyle, right? This is why I was so aggravated, and most of the world was aggravated when they closed gyms during COVID.
Yeah, I think that's an insult to humanity, really, at the end of the day.
But they leave the liquor store open.
Right.
They leave Home Depot open. Stuff that's like people were killing each other during that time because they had no outlet. And so, reluctantly, because I had a team of disciples, a team that like to follow, the culture in my gym is insane. It's like they help each other, they root each other on. They want to be led. It's a community that shakes each other up. And so when that happened, the first thing they did was call me and say, "Hey, Tony, will you be open?" And I remember something that happened to my dad when I was a kid. I was 14, 15, and I used to go, with my dad to his job. He had a number spot in the Bronx, and he used to do his numbers, and I used to go work for him. And I spent my time with my dad there, learning about business, learning about, he was self-made, and it was illegal what he was doing. The cops came, pulled him out. He left in cuffs, and he looked at me. He said, "Wait for me here. I'll be back." They shut the gate of the store, and I stood in front of the gate waiting for my dad to come back. This was like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Started getting dim outside. That dusky type of time came around, and a car pulled up, and my dad came out, and I was like, "Oh my God, you're here." And he opened up, and he continued to do business again. And so when that happened to me, I said, "Yeah, I'm going to open up." And I stood open all through COVID, and everybody inside said, "Hey, if they get you for this, we're going to take you out." So then I was sitting down, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm doing the exact same thing my dad did.
Right.
I didn't realize that until, I did it. But I was fighting for my people, and to this day, I have members there that came from COVID that are still there.
So the culture is because really the gym culture is a rebellious culture. It's a culture that wants to level up.
That's right.
That's always at war with itself because, really at the end of the day, what's what gym is about.
Yes.
You're pushing weight, resistance, creating muscles. You're becoming something more than when you first walked in.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So okay, you got it. You helped your sister.
Mm-hmm.
You saw your grandma unfortunately pass. But prior to that, you said you were lifting weights, doing your thing.
Right.
What got you started, like from zero? Like when was the first time like, I got to pick up a weight? How did that happen?
Well, I was into motorcycles, and I had just started learning how to ride motorcycles, and I was in a parking lot, and a friend of mine was there watching me, and I was just learning, and then I finally got it. And so there was no cars, and I'm running. I stop, and he goes, "Let me try." And he gets on, runs back, runs the motorcycle, and now he's going fast, and he's coming toward me. And now I'm getting scared. I'm like, what is this guy doing? And so it's one of those things where you don't know where he's gonna go, so you start doing this, and he starts doing this, and I went to the right, and he went to the right, and ran over my leg, and I broke my leg. So now I had a cast, and I'm laying in bed, flipping through the TV, and I come across a program they had. It was the Chippendales. The guys were stripping for women. I'm like, oh, damn, I want to do that. These guys are like buff.
Right.
I'm like, what the hell? In order to do that and have that type of success and have that type of life, I have to look like that. All right, let me start training. And I would wobble my ass to the gym in the cast, and I would start with the upper body. That's how I got into training.
And that was in New York?
That was in New York. Yeah.
What year was this?
I was 17.
Because you were born in New York?
I was born in New York.
You were born in New York, and you stayed in New York
all the way till I was 30, 37, 38, 39.
And you were living in the Bronx?
Yes.
The whole time?
The whole time.
Tell me a little bit about the Bronx.
Oh, it's the concrete jungle. It's the concrete jungle. It's where you see shit happen and you're like, what? There's graffiti on the walls. Look, when you're born there, you're used to it. So when you leave and you go to somewhere nice and you come back, you're like, what is this shithole that I've been living in all my life, you know? And some people say, you know, you can't never forget where you came from. Yeah, but it doesn't mean I want to be back here.
Right.
You know, I fought my ass, you know, really. I really fought my way out of that place. Why the hell would I want to go back? I'm trying to work on getting my mom to get out of there because she doesn't want to leave. You know, she's in her element. And I'm like, Mom, come on. Like, people don't, I brought my kids there for Thanksgiving last year. And I wanted to take them through the spots that were impactful in a negative way so that they can learn what not to do. So I took them to 149th and 3rd. If you go to Google and put most dangerous places in the Bronx, it shows the place where I took my kids. So, but I walk there like it's my backyard because I'm used to that.
Right.
But I'm walking there, man, and you see the crackheads leaning over, almost falling to the floor, but never falling. You know, you got guys with throw up all over the place, and the kids are looking at, and I'm explaining to them, you see that guy right there? That guy does drugs. That's what happens when you do drugs. So we're walking. It's like a school day class. They're in session right now. And you see that guy right there, that thing in his mouth, that's vomit. That's what happens when you take too much drugs, and then this happens, and it's substance abuse. And I'm teaching them all these things. And one of them goes, Dad, it looks like The Walking Dead. I'm like, that's exactly what they end up being. They're The Walking Dead, like the zombies. They look like that. They act like that. And unless you get out of here or not do what they do, you're going to be just like them. And they got scared.
How old are they?
One's 10 and one's 7.
10. I think the biggest challenge is you can give your kids everything that you gain in this world, as far as like tangible, you know, like money, resources, the things that you gain. But how do you give them knowledge or abilities to overcome if you don't take them to those kind of places, if you don't show them?
Yes.
Right? So how have you battled that? I mean, I guess taking them there was one of the ways.
Taking them there was one of them, yes.
Right.
I'm physical with my boys. So what I do is when they come over, because I'm separated. So when they come over their weekend with me, you know, first thing I do is I have a whiteboard. And on the whiteboard, I have, all right, first thing we're going to do when we wake up in the morning is we're going to do 20 sit-ups, 20 push-ups, 20 burpees. And there's the list is there. So every day they come to my house, it's like, boom, 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 boom. Then do your room and then do this. And then we can do what we need to do. But before then, I get on the floor on all fours and I said, all right, come at me. So I put them in these rough situations where they have to try to think, how am I going to get that off me? You know, it's like a puzzle. How am I going to figure this out? And I'm tough, you know, and when I see them trying hard enough, I kind of like give up and then let them win. Right.
Physical,
you know,
puzzle.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because they have to go through that. See, as parents, we try to shelter them because we don't want anything bad to happen to them. That's handicapping them. They need to go through that bad shit to learn how to get out of it and become better men. They have to go through pain. They have to suffer to know what suffering is and get out of the suffering and become stronger, better men that way. So I'm putting obstacles in their way purposely. And then I just bought them like a month ago, 10X books for kids so they can learn about investing, about money, about, you know, what's a bad, what's debt, you know, that kind of stuff. So I have them read that before they go to bed at night.
10 and 7.
10 and 7.
What are the names?
Gianni and Angelo. Angelo and Gianni.
Nice. Now, as far as tattoos goes, are those the most meaningful tattoos that you got?
Absolutely. 100%.
Have to be.
100%. And I said, I'll never get tattoos.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But you got a few, so when did you start?
The week before I went to prison.
We're gonna get to the stories, right? So, all right, let's take it one step at a time. You went to prison. What year?
2003.
2003. So, all right. There's what obviously I want to get into like the whole gym, how you built the culture, how you open up the gym. Let's as far as the tattoos, our kids are the most important. I got a 20-year-old daughter. She's my world. You know what I mean? So I totally second that, and I want to get into that.
Right.
Let's hit on the gym real quick. What got you into first opening up the gym that you have right now? Because prior to that, you had other businesses, right?
Correct.
So what was the transition there? Like what got you to that point?
I used to work for Orange Theory and for 5 years. And it got to the point where, I was the guy that they would fly all over the country every time a franchisor guy wanted to open one up. And I would have to go and teach all the trainers how to do the product. When you buy a franchise, it has to be the same in every store. If not, you can't have a franchise. So I would go and fly and teach them for a week and then fly back home. It got to the point where I was making these guys a lot of money. And I said, damn, I would like to have my own Orange Theory. I think it's only fair. I've paid my dues. I've helped so many people. I know the systems. I know the back end. I know the computer. I know the whole product. And one day I walked into the owner's office and I said, I would love to own an Orange Theory. Would you guys bless me with the opportunity to buy a franchise? And the guy said, no, we don't have any more left. But he did, because I had spoken to 2 people prior before walking in to make sure they had. And there were area developers that would sell them. And they said, Tony, we have this, we have this, we have this. But when I went to the guy's office, he said, no, we don't have anything left. And I told him at that moment, because I knew, I said, well, you know what? I've given this many years to you guys and I helped you guys get rich doing what I did for you guys. And I think it's very unfair that you guys are not giving me that opportunity to grow with you guys as a franchisee. Very unfair. So here's my 3 days notice without knowing what I was going to do.
Right.
And just so happened to be that weekend I had turned pro. And I said, you know what? I turned pro now. I'm going to go to the gym. But when I went to the gym to start my training, because I was now a new pro, they had sold all the Porkies in Miami and made them UFITs. So all the heavy weights, they got rid of them. So it's capped at 70 or 80 pounds now. So I said, how the hell am I going to do this? So I said, I'm going to open up my own gym. And, I didn't have much, but every weekend I'd go hustle some money and I'd buy one piece of equipment and I put it in my backyard with a tarp. Second week I got paid, one piece of equipment. I ended up buying 40 pieces before I knew I could open my gym. When I had the 40 pieces, I went, got the lease, and moved all the stuff in, and that's how I started.
That's a cool story. That's actually
what's even crazier is that I first spoke to another gym who had yellow and black colors, and I said, "Look, I would love to open up a gym like yours, but where I'm living in Kendall." And he goes, "Yeah, it's beautiful. Just don't change anything." I was like, "I won't. How much would you charge me to franchise it?" And he goes, "I wouldn't. Just don't change anything and we're good." I'm like, "Are you sure?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, I'm going to do that." I painted all the machines with the same color code.
Right.
And I went back 6 weeks later and I said, "Look, I'm ready to rock and roll. What do you want to call it? This gym in Kendall or this gym number 2? And he goes, "Well, I got to talk to my attorney." I was like, "Wait a second. You're going to talk to your attorney now? You told me we were good to go." I went and I'm a man of action, man. He goes,
right.
"You know what? Come back in a week." And, I went back the following week. "Hey, how you doing? So and so." We didn't have the conversation about the gym at all. That was when I knew that this guy was not going to, bless me with that. So I left. I opened the gym. I said, "I'm not repainting these." And I left it like that. So many people confuse us. Many people confuse us, and a lot of people come over and they're like, "Wait, I thought that." I'm like, "No, this is the other one." They're like, "Oh, okay." So,
yeah, because you work for a franchise. You were doing pretty much like, I don't know if you would call that training, logistics, things like that, but in a franchise, every franchise has to kind of like look and play the same.
Exactly the same.
So the whole purpose of that is to get the customers like kind of used to the brand. They feel comfortable when you go to the other place. So
Yes.
if they look the same, you kind of like in the same type of culture, so it feels good.
Correct.
You know, and that's what it is, right?
What's wild is that when I went and I opened up Colombia, when you do Orange Theory, it's a coach and he's giving instructions to the members and the members are doing as he's saying. When I went to Colombia, I had to train these guys in English and in Spanish. So now you're giving direction twice while they're working out. Because now if people from Miami go visit Colombia, how are they going to understand what to do? They have to hear it in English.
Oh, okay. So, but the instructors that are hired by Orange Theory had to speak Spanish and English. I would assume.
No, only in Colombia. They speak Spanish. They had to learn how to speak English. They had to learn how to say it in English.
So now, boom, you got the gym open, 40 pieces of equipment. That reminds me of even for example, the Bezos story, and you know, everybody starts in their own yard, in their own garage. And out of nowhere, you just build a brand.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, you know? So now you got the gym open. Okay, cool. One thing fell apart, whatever, you know, people, unfortunately, they don't keep their word or whatever the case is. You open a gym. It's to your style. How did you get the name? How did you build the culture?
And so there was a partner that I had that we went in on, and unfortunately, things didn't work out. And what I didn't know was that prior to the beef happening, he had gone to see an attorney and had plans already to have me taken out. And so I went to the attorney, and when I heard about it, and he goes, "Yeah, he hired us 2 months ago." I said, "What?" So when I heard that, I said, "Look, you know, obviously this is not going to turn out well. What are my options?" He goes, "Look, we can, obviously you have all your paperwork here. You're legal. It seems like it's all yours. You can fight it, which you'll win, but we don't work for free. So it's probably going to be $100,000 to litigate. Do you have that?" And I said, "No." He goes, "So what are you going to do?" And I said, "What are my options? I mean, I'm not going to let them steal it from me." He goes, "Look, my advice, I'm going to give you this for free. Go down the block, open up another gym, and your people will come if you built this one that way." And I said, "Okay." And that was what I did.
What's the culture of Iron Temple?
The culture of Iron Temple. You ever seen the movie Pumping Iron?
Of course.
Where guys go 2, 3, 4 at a time and they just hang there and get the workout. And, you know, some of them are in socks. Some of them are just, they feel like they're home. You walk in there, a new member walks in there, and everybody turns around and, "Hey, how are you? How you doing?" "Good." I know every member's name. They walk in, and I walk them through a tour, and I'm like, "This is Robert. Robert does this. Robert was here, so and so. This is so he was here. He was doing this." And they're like, "Oh, hey, how are you?" They shake their hand right away. So if someone's struggling, if someone is lost, if someone looks like they don't know what they're doing, they're right there. "Oh, this is how you do this. This is how you do that." You know, very, very, very attentive, very helping, very supportive. When we have our competitors, you know, training, they stop doing their set to watch and root them on. You know, it's one of those type of gyms.
Yeah, so I would assume that just because there's big guys probably working out there, because there's a lot of heavy weights, right, being pushed around. If somebody's starting brand new, somebody's kind of maybe they don't know around their way around the gym too much. When they get there, there's a camaraderie.
Yes.
There's like a friendly environment that's kind of like geared towards helping them build themselves. So it's a friendly environment.
It's a very friendly environment. It's a welcoming environment. You know, some people, they're like, "Oh, but your gym is it has like the big guys." I'm like, "Yeah, but it also has 60-year-old women and 70-year-old women who are doing lunges there. I'll show you. Come on in." And so when they come, they're like, "Oh," so they feel comfortable. And then I introduce them to the big guys, and the big guys shake their hand and make them feel real at home.
So how do they all become one big happy family? Like, what's the glue? What's the glue that holds everybody together?
The glue is that everybody wants to feel fantastic. Everybody wants to improve. Everybody wants to change what they're leaving outside before they walk into the door. I mean, there's people that walk in with equipment. Hey, I saw this and I liked it and I want to contribute. And they bring bars, they bring, equipment to the gym. I'm like, yeah, put it right over there. Great.
Yeah, so cool. It's kind of like you're allowing them to just make the best use of the gym with their own, like, I guess,
100%.
personal touch to it.
If there's something you like and we don't have, let me know what it is. I'll get it. Some people don't do that. Some people just go buy it and bring it.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic. Some people come and they're like, hey, last night the door was open, so I kind of like lifted this and then I locked it so nobody can by themselves.
It's amazing when you have people who do their own thing. They're critical thinkers. They're part of a crew, and they're just taking care of things without being told.
Yeah,
like that's always good. You know what I mean?
Very proactive. Very proactive people. Yeah,
that's an amazing thing. So the funny thing is when you were talking to me about your father.
Oh, Dad!
And you were telling me the story. And I was thinking Bronx Tale, right? Remember Collageno?
Yeah.
And he's just watching, his mentor do his thing and learning. So you left the Bronx at 37, 38.
37, 38, yeah. Well, that happened, and then I went away, and then when I got back, I had that probation period. So now I'm in the Bronx, and I have to wait till I'm done to fucking bounce.
To leave.
The moment it was up, I left.
What was the biggest lesson that you learned from living in the concrete jungles? I'm from New York too, so at the end of the day, I love to hear this. It actually, sometimes when I hear this, I'm reminded. You understand? I get to relive my memories, So what was the biggest thing that you would kind of credit, let's say, the being raised in the Bronx, being raised in New York City?
I firmly believe that I get my grit, I get my toughness, I get that attitude where, you can come at me 50 times, bro. I'm gonna get up and you can come at me another 50 times from the Bronx. Because in the Bronx, it's just the culture in the Bronx is about being a badass. And if you're not, they're gonna pick on you. They're just gonna pick on you. And you gotta get picked on and get slapped for you to do something about it. And most of the time, when the person gets tired, he either goes to karate school or he goes to boxing school, or he tells somebody that teaches him how to fight. And it becomes that story that now we go to the movies and watch, right? It becomes one of those. So, you learn, you get lost, you figure oh, fuck, I remember taking the train one time and ended up in Queens. I'm like, how am I gonna get back home? And so I figured that out, how to travel by train, how to travel underground. It's just a world full of characters, things you've never seen anywhere else.
I remember, to me, traveling was going from Queens to the Bronx to Brooklyn to Manhattan. To me, that was traveling until I came out here to Florida, and I was like, palm trees? It's like you've never seen this shit ever again. Like, you know what I mean? So I truly remember that. And that's where you get the thick skin, the I gotta do it by any means necessary attitude. All these characters in the train, you look at them too long, you're in a fight. You know what I'm saying? It's all those little things add up to really build a strong character. And then
absolutely,
who can knock it down after that? You know what I mean? There's no comparison.
It's almost like you give that credit for being who you are.
Yeah.
And it's like, without that, I'd be a little bitch.
So you ended up doing some time. I mean, is that something we could get into, like the reasons why? Stuff
Absolutely,
like that?
100%.
So when did this happen? What was it called?
Well, again, start talking about Dad. It all goes back to Dad, right? Yeah. So as a kid, Dad would me and my sister, rock'em sock'em robots. We would fight and that kind of shit. And every time I'd hit her a little bit too hard, she'd call my dad. And my dad would come home and he'd be like, I told you not to hit your sister. Bam! He'd fucking knock me. And so I'm like, all right. And so now when my sister would do something, I call my dad. I'm like, yo, Barbie did this and she did that. And he said, I'll talk to you when I get home. So when he got home, he pulled me into the room. He go, let me tell you something. If your sister does something to you or anybody does something, don't you ever talk about it. Don't you ever rat. Don't ever tell on anybody. I don't want to hear shit that your sister did to you. And I'm like, okay. So now the seeds are starting to be planted. Don't ever tell on anybody. Don't ever rat. That's not a cool thing to do. So fast forward. In my 30s already, and I have a best friend. Your boy, you go hard. It's like a brother. To me, he was my brother. And I had a house here in Florida. and he would be in that house. He would come and he would rent. He'd send me the rent, and he'd take care of the house for me. Some stuff happened down here with him where he ended up shooting somebody. Person went to the hospital, ended up dying. Now he's being chased. He's being, fugitive, that kind of stuff. He calls me. I'm in New York. I pick up the phone. He's like, Tony, I need your help. I'm like, what's up, bro? Yeah. It's 2 a.m. I get up. I'm like, what's up? And he's like, I'm in Florida. I need you to come pick me up. I'm like, okay. Like, what do you need? I'll send you money. He goes, no, I can't take a plane. I'm like, so how am I going to pick you up? I didn't think about it. He goes, can you drive? I'm like, all right. I'll be right there. Boom. I got in my truck. I had a Roddy at the time. Took the Roddy in the car. Drove. I made it there 16 hours. Picked him up. We drove back. He hadn't said anything yet. Came back. Now I told him, hey, here's the key to my house. Whatever, I'm going to work. When I get out of work, I'll come back. We'll go get some drinks or whatever. We'll talk about it. We did that. Apparently, somebody owed him money. He went to go collect the money. And when he saw the guy was leaning over a car. He had a big jersey. They used to wear them really big. And he turned around. When he saw my boy, he never intended to pay him, but he told him, come up and get the money. So he went to grab his gun, and it got caught in the jersey. When he did that, my boy ran up, grabbed him, and started beating on him, took the gun, pistol whipped him, and the gun went off. Hit the guy in the shoulder. The guy was like, please, let me go to the hospital. My guy was like, all right, go to the hospital. Guy died in the hospital. That was the story. So now he's here with me. I'm like, God damn, okay, you know what? Just stay low, hang in my crib. I'll be going to work. After work, we'll hang and so on and so forth. One day, I get Fugitive Task Force, NYPD, FBI, and DEA, 2 of each. So I got 8 goons come to my real estate office. I was selling real estate at the time. They knock on the door. They come in, and these guys are like, that good cop, bad cop shit, that was in full force here. It had this big 250-pound freaking monkey all over me. Tell us where he's at. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. You're going to go down. We know about you. We know about your blonde girlfriend. We know about your Porsche. We know about the house you're trying to buy. We know everything. You're going to go down for this crime if you don't tell us where he's at right now. And I looked at him. I said, I can't help you. All the while he was at home. So he goes, look, if you don't tell us where he's at, he is going to die because he's going to resist and we're going to have to shoot him. I said, I can't help you. I don't know where he's at. So the guy left his card. He goes, look, don't mind my partner. Here's my card. Give me a call if you come across him. So they left, and now I'm in my office in a panic. I'm looking at the clock. It was 4 o'clock. I stood in that chair until 8 o'clock, just thinking everything over. And so it got night. I went upstairs, looked outside the door, made sure there was no cars with their lights on or anybody in any cars. Opened the door. I got in my car. And I said, these guys, if they're around, they're going to follow me home. And I don't want this guy to get caught. So I drove in the opposite direction, and there's a street called Schurz Avenue. Schurz Avenue has a long strip with no traffic, no lights, overhead lights. So it's dark. Unless you have your headlights on, you're not going to see anything. So this is a great chance for me to go through and see if anybody's following me. So I drove all the way down to the end, and that's a college at the end, Maritime College, where you just go like this and go back the other way. So I went around and I parked and I shut off my lights and I waited. I said, if anybody's following me, they're going to come right through this road and I'm going to see them. I sat there for an hour. Nobody came. I'm like, all right, I'm good to go. I run home, get upstairs, knock on the door, and he opens the door. He had a chain on. He opened the door. I said, yo, it's me. He unlocked. I said, dude, these guys just came to my office. 2 DEA, 2 FBI, all these freaking monkeys came there. What's going on? What are you going to do, man? He goes, fuck. He grabbed his bag. He goes, take care of my son. And he ran. And now in the projects, there's always 2 stairs, right? One to the right. One left to the front, one empty exits to the back. So I said, look, take the other one because that goes to the back. So if they follow me, that ends to the front. Take that one. Boom. He takes that door. I don't hear from him for about 4 weeks. 4 weeks, he calls me up. He goes, yo, Tone, I need money. I said, George, I mean, what do you want me to do? Where do you want me to go? I don't have any money. He says, call this guy. He owes me 30 grand. Meet with him, pick it up. When you do that, he'll let me know. I'll call you and I'll tell you where to take it. I said, all right, man. So I did what I did. I called my nephew. I said, yo, Jay, we got to go pick something up. He gets in the car with me. I go meet this guy. I pull up in an empty parking lot. He pulls up head first. He rolls the window down. He goes, you Tony? I'm like, yeah. He goes, come around. So I got out of my car. I got in his car. I told my nephew, listen, if anything happens, here's the license plate. Here's the guy's number. Here's his name. Here's this and that. Anything happens to me, look for this guy. I get in his car. He says, oh, I know you from somewhere. I said, no, you don't know me. You got the money? And he goes, yeah. My guy's bringing it now. I said, you don't know me. He goes, yeah, I know you. He said, didn't you do my niece's party? You're a stripper, right? And I was like, oh, shit. I was like, no, man, that's not me. He goes, yeah, man, you did Zorro. I remember you. And I was like, that was a long time ago, man. That was a long time ago. And, I don't do that no more. And he was like, oh, shit. Yeah, I remember. I was downstairs. You asked me to leave. I was like, damn. This guy.
Did you remember him though or no?
I didn't.
No?
I didn't, but I remember the house. It's weird. With the shows, I always remember the locations, never the people. And I said, look, man, I got to go, dude. So, like, call your guy, see if he's coming. If not, call me back when he gets here. I can't be sitting around here wasting time. He goes, no. He goes, look, but where's George? I said, look, I don't know where George is. He's gone. He's been gone about a month, man. But I'm not going to tell you where he's at, bro. I'm not going to tell you where he's at or nobody. When the cops were looking for him, he was with me, bro, and I didn't give him up. So what makes you think I'm going to tell you? He goes, oh, okay, no problem. And I left. Got in my car, drove off, and I started thinking, I'm like, what? I don't understand. I'm thinking all the questions he was asking, everything he was doing. I got on the highway, and in thinking, I almost missed the exit. So I was like, oh, shit. I looked back, moved, looked in the rearview mirror, and I saw a car do the same thing. I said, oh, shit, Jay. He goes, what's the matter? I said, I think somebody's following me. I get off the exit. I said, I'm going to do two rights, a left, another right, and a left. If this car does the same thing, brace yourself. I did that. The car did the same thing. And then, I don't know if you know, but the train station, the train runs over top.
Yeah, of course.
So I went through the train, the things, and as soon as I go to the right, a green Cherokee comes front, blocks me, all four doors open. Guns, weapons, rifles come out, and I was like, oh, shit, we're fucked. I put my hands up, and they threw me in. They took me downtown and locked me up.
So what year was that?
That was 2003. That car was wired. That guy turned out to be an informant.
Mm. But nothing much happened because obviously you didn't collect anything.
I didn't collect anything. But the reason why they took me in.
You were with him.
No, but because in the car, I said when the cops wanted him, I had him.
Right.
And I remember I was always saying, I don't know where he's at. I don't know where he's at. I don't know where he's at.
Right.
So they were pissed that I had their guy and I would never give him up.
Mm. What did you learn from that situation?
Not to trust anybody. I mean, keep your mouth shut. Because if the thing happened tomorrow, I do the same thing. I just do it different. It's just part of my values. I'll never give anybody up, man. It's not my job to turn you in. Now, if you murdered a child, I'll kill you myself, right? But if you're family related and, I'm not going to throw you under the bus, man. No way. Especially if we know each other. If I don't know you, I'll run you by myself. But I'll do it again in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing is to have that obviously code between you and your close people.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And whether they keep it or not, that's on them. Mm-hmm. But if you keep it, you're solid and you continue on your journey with that.
Yes. I was sleeping peaceful. I know I didn't do nothing. I know I kept my word. And when I looked at it, I said, I gave this guy another 5 years of freedom before he got caught. I was happy with that. If you got caught, that was on you. Why? Because you were fine where you were. Why'd you come back to the United States?
Right.
The delivery people that delivered the furniture were the feds. And that's how they got him.
How long did you go out for?
I went out 5 years.
5 years.
The charge was lying to a federal agent. 5 years. My niece, who was a cop, didn't believe me. She thought I did something else. I said, Lily, look up the codes, see what the charge is. And she later on apologized. She goes, I'm sorry, Uncle Tony. I'm like, for what? She goes, I didn't believe you. And I looked it up and it carries 5 years. I said, yeah, so Martha Stewart went to jail for lying.
Yeah, I mean, it's nuts. So this 2003.
Yes.
You get out 2008.
2008. I did my probation and then I ended up here.
You did that. You're like, okay, cool. I got to get out of here type.
Well, when I got out, right before, 3 months before I got out of prison, they called me into the office and they said, look, since you've been here, you've been out of trouble, you've helped, you've contributed, you've done this, you've done that, blah, blah, blah. You've been a model inmate. So what we're doing is we're helping people who leave start a new career. Is there anything that you're interested in doing? And those 4 years, I was watching fucking the Food Network. I'm watching cooking and all that kind of stuff. And I said, yeah, I want to be a chef. And they paid for my culinary degree. New York Culinary Academy. They sent $40,000 to that school for me.
And you went through the whole thing?
I went through the whole thing. I graduated the culinary school. And then I started working for a restaurant in New York during my probation period called Muscle Maker Grill. And so I'm cooking up, and I knew some people from the Bronx. They came to eat. And I served them the food. There was one particular guy who was my landlord's brother. I gave him the food. He goes, oh, this is delicious. I'm like, you like that? He goes, yeah. I said, I tell you what, because minds work the same all the time. I said, I tell you what. I said, pull out a check, write $30,000, and I'll give my apron in right now, and we'll go buy a franchise, and we'll go to Florida, and we'll do this. And he goes, you serious? I said, I'm going to write the check. He wrote the check. I took off my apron. I gave it to the guy, and we left.
So that's how you got here.
That's how I got here.
All right. And then what happened?
And then I opened up Muscle Maker Grill in North Miami Beach and Muscle Maker Grill on Sheridan Street in Broward. So before Orange Theory, I had 2 restaurants here.
You had 2 restaurants. And I know the restaurant business is supposed to be one of the toughest businesses, right?
It is. It's tough. But when you make good food and the overhead is low enough, it's a great thing to be. That's why I believe food trucks are the best. If I had to do it over again, I get a food truck. And I had great customers. But what I didn't know is that here in Miami, the rent on the place, what dictates the rent are the anchor stores in the plaza. And so I'm like, why is my rent so high? They're like, well, you got 3 anchor stores. I'm like, what the hell is an anchor store? Right. So they explained to me, well, Publix is an anchor store, Bed Bath & Beyond, Kohl's, because these stores bring traffic. So they say the more traffic that comes to the plaza, the better you're going to do. And I did have a lot of people, but it just wasn't enough. So after 2 years of owning that restaurant and just being shy every month, 200, 100, 300, it was, I'm bleeding to death, And so after 2 years, I was like, if I don't leave now, I'm just going to empty everything out here. So I shut everything down and I took off.
And I think that's important in business because if you can, to me, it's assets and liabilities. Mm-hmm. That's it. Very simple. Yes. And, sometimes we got our egos in the way and we're like, we can't do this, but,
That's tough.
Math doesn't lie.
Nice. Math is the way, right?
Math is the way. And you got to use that rational brain too.
Yeah. And you gotta step out of it for a minute because you get emotionally attached.
Right.
This is my baby. I built this from scratch. The people love me.
Right.
At the end of the day, if you ain't gonna make it happen, just do the math, like you said. If I keep doing this for 2 years, I'll be at 0. That's just based on the numbers. And then I say, God damn, you know what? I have a 1956 Porsche 356 Classic. I said, maybe I could put this as a contest, do it here. Maybe that'll bring more people. I went that crazy to try to save it. And I was like, no, I'm going to lose my car and I'm going to lose everything else. So I just shut it down.
Yeah, I mean, that's like I said, that's the rational brain. And that also brings me to the whole, the language of business. Mm-hmm. I think to me, that's the universal language. It's not even English.
Right.
It's business. Because business lets you see things for what they are. You know what I'm saying? Like in every relationship, there's always a give and take, I believe. Right. You know what I mean? Meritocracy should always kind of fight for yours, get what you deserve. But in that journey, you also see things for what they are.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
You see them for what's real, what's not real. Even in my business, at some level, if you're working at 24/7 because you have to, then you're just another employee.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
what I didn't realize was that I don't know if it's a culture here in Florida, or maybe it's just Miami, or maybe it's just, but over here, it rains and people don't show up to work. They call out for the stupid, I got a headache, I can't go to work.
Right.
And I said, if you come from New York, Bronx, Manhattan, whatever, you're running circles over everybody here because everybody's so slow. Everybody has an excuse, And I said, when I was in prison, I read a book called, and it's the weirdest thing, A Man and His Meatballs, where he wanted to open up a restaurant. And the way he went about it was, his specialty was the meatball. He goes, okay, so I'm going to sell this meatball for this amount of money. The rent is this. How many meatballs per day do I have to sell to make that rent plus expenses? And he no freaking business plan, just the meatballs. And so I said, when I opened the gym, I said, how many members do I have to pay this rent with the light bill? And so I need to have this many members. So when I got my 4 months of build out time, I built the gym in 3 weeks and was able to get that many members and more before I had to pay my first rent.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Because of that book.
So, and that's what it comes down to. Like when it comes down to business, you gotta really look at things for black and white.
Yeah.
If somebody's starting a business right now, let's say they don't know anything about business, what would be your first advice? Having had few businesses and stuff like that, what would be your advice?
I would say the first thing you should do is, because rent is everything. Rent is your biggest, that'll make or break you. That'll take you from the red or the black. That's the difference. So I would say, look around the businesses that are like yours. Do your homework. Go in there. This gym, how much is your membership? What do you pay a month? I mean, you're going to have to dig it out of them. But get your rent. Do the math. Okay, per member, if I charge this, how many of members do I need to make this rent? Or how many things do I have to sell to make this rent? Because when I look around, I'm like, damn, that kiosk in the mall is $6,000 a month. He sells freaking trinkets. How many trinkets you got to sell to pay $6,000 a month? And I'm like, some of these guys really don't think this over. So look at your rent and see how many things of whatever it is you're selling you need to sell to make that rent. Once you do that, everything's covered. I mean, everybody says, yeah, you got to do a business plan. That's something corporate, in my opinion. But when you do a business plan, you don't count for a COVID. You don't account for a COVID. You don't account for hurricanes and thunderstorms, which throw monkey wrenches and shit. You know what I mean? So, as always, the basics. The rent and what you're selling, how much of it do you have to sell to cover the...
Yeah, basically, how many meatballs you need.
How many meatballs you need. It was so simple. I didn't know it was that simple.
But things, you know what it is? That we as human beings, we like to overcomplicate things. But in the essence, things are simple, man. A plus B equals C. That's why there's formulas. and it's funny because in the path of figuring out the formula, we try to reinvent all kinds of different formulas, right? But man, bro, like, are you gonna reinvent the wheel?
Everybody wants to. That wheel is working. What are you trying to do?
Right.
Why? Like, look, I say, look, find the person who's doing what it is you want to do. Who's the best in the world at what it is you want to do? And model that guy, or hire that guy, or buy his program, or do what the hell he says, because he figured it out.
Yeah, and there's something to be said about like just reverse engineering something.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like you burn your boats when you open your gym. You're like, okay, I got one piece of equipment. Then you got your lease and you got your thing open, your gym open. Burning the boats and not giving yourself another option is always, to me, it's kind of like you have to sink or swim, and you're gonna swim. Like if you have any type of resilience and positivity in you, you're gonna swim. So I say go for it. The other thing is very simple, man. if me and you are planning a trip and we're gonna take a boat and we're gonna go, let's say we gotta go to Cuba, right? I don't know if we could just take a boat to Cuba, but all right, cool, 90 miles, no problem. If how much fuel do we need? Which way do we need to point? And we got to maintain that course, right? We're gonna get to Cuba, bro.
Hello, high water, we'll get there.
You know what I mean? A point I'm trying to make is that there is a formula of how much fuel you need, what type of direction you got to take, and if you stay the course, trust the process, and not give up and continue working, you'll get there.
Yeah, I made a framework to open a gym. I wrote a book and I have all that laid out. But
you wrote a book, or
yeah,
you have?
I have copies at home. It's called Gym Secrets Revealed, right? And
but it's published. Is it published?
It's published. Yeah, yeah, it's published. So in the book, I explain everything from the moment I started looking for the property to everything I bought and in between. And I always say this example because people, they wanna build the gym, they want to build the best gym, but they get into $400,000-$500,000 in debt to build a gym, and that's great. It's a beautiful gym, but can you pay it? It's grand opening, grand closing within 3 days.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because of the numbers. I called, and I'll never forget this. I called the guy, the mirror guy. I say, I need a mirror from this wall to that wall. What are you gonna charge me? He goes, well, I'm gonna charge you $8,000 for the mirrors. And to gym folks, that's normal. But I didn't have $8,000 for mirrors. But I knew I needed mirrors. So I called another company. Yeah, that's gonna be $9,000. Yeah, it's gonna be $85. I'm like, all right, thanks. I went to Home Depot. I bought 10 mirrors, put them up, $300. I had the whole wall of mirrors. That's in the book. That's a strategy that people need to know if they want to save $8,000, right? Oh, it's a $4,000 music system. For what? Most people come with their earbuds. You know what? I went to Best Buy. My receiver's $100. The speakers were $150. Done. Music is so loud that the neighbor tells me I got to turn it down.
Resourceful.
You have to be now in day and age, because again, you're trying to get in, you're trying to last. And now nowadays you open a business, and what's the percentage of business that close after the first year?
Yeah,
right?
I think it's like 75%.
It's incredible.
Something, yeah. Some don't make it to past their second year.
No. And knock on wood, I'm 7 years strong, and everybody loves it there,
Yeah.
And people don't realize it. They don't know they're $300 mirrors. They look in the mirror, they flex, and they look good.
Not that it matters.
It doesn't.
But I think it's what you find out in the journey of building and being resourceful. That is where the gold nuggets are, because that is something that you can apply not just to the mirrors, not just to the sound system. That's also to the marketing system.
Right.
That's also to, like, how do I bring people in? People forget that, flyers, door to door. Nowadays everybody wants to be on the phone, and cool. You're watching this podcast on the phone, by the way, so I appreciate it. But the truth of the matter is, you build those tools when you're working on the field, sweating.
Yes.
And you're creating it from the mud, and that's. I'm assuming that's what you want to teach your children. That right there, the entrepreneurial spirit.
In fact, I have a video, and I have both boys. I have a stack of flyers, guerrilla marketing. Right?
Yes.
And I went to 152nd Avenue, and I said, guys, you see that? And you see that gym over there? That gym is about to go out of business. Here's what I need you to do. I said, I'm gonna give you this stack. I'm gonna give you this stack. Every time somebody comes out that door, you're gonna go, Angelo, and you're gonna give that guy a flyer, and Gian, you're gonna give that person over there a flyer. I said, all right, let's go. The person comes out, I'm like, your turn, go. And so I'm teaching them these things, you know what? And the ones that were left over, I said, you see the cards? Just pick up the wiper and just put it in the car. This is what we used to do, when it's sweat equity, it's guerrilla marketing, it's how we did it when we didn't have money, and it still works. Because what happens? People get in their car, they're like, damn, who the hell put this on my... They pick up the flyer to throw it on, they look at it and they're like, oh, you know what? Maybe I'll visit this place.
Right.
Boom, right? That's what people are leaving out. You can do it on Instagram, yeah, but they're home, they're chilling. It's probably 1 a.m. until 12. By tomorrow, they'll forget.
Yeah, and repetition is what works with people, but at the same time, people respect tangible things. If they
Yes.
could hold on to something, somebody gave it to me in the hand, somebody smiled at me and they looked at me while they said, "Hey, have a nice day. Here you go."
Yes.
How many times has somebody gave you something? Or you're walking in the street, I gave you a flyer, and you look at the person, you're like, I can't throw this shit out. Yes or no?
Yes.
Because you're like, yo, you know what? This person's working for it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it you can't you can't put that on a social media post. Like you just can't. You know
You
what I
can't.
mean?
And if you leave it in your car, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna leave and it's gonna stay in the car. So when you come back in the car, you're looking at it again.
Yeah.
Right. So it starts to get embedded in your
Right, right,
social,
right.
you know, it's
Yeah. So the boys, they how do they feel about the gym life?
oh, they love it.
I mean,
They come in, they, you know, they start pulling stuff. I'm like, guys, be careful with that. That thing hurts. So just be easy, you know, and I let them do their thing. If they get hurt, they'll learn not to do that again.
Yeah.
I have to. You know, they trip. Damn, that's hard. Yeah, it's called steel and it hurts if it hits you. You know, but they love being there. And the culture, they love having them there. I'm like, hey, what's going on, guys? And they high five them and they know my boys. They've been there since they were, you know, 3 months.
Do you think that they're gonna continue on the journey, the legacy? Is that something that you would like for them, or you kind of are the type that like, you know what, they're gonna do whatever they want to do, but I'm gonna try to force them into the fitness world, or you're just gonna respect?
No, well,
What
they're
they do.
look, they're this is the moment where I believe if you're a really good father, or if you care about your kids, if you're not a deadbeat dad, you want to give your kids the best and prepare them for the world. And I think that these boys need to build themselves, build through becoming strong. You can't become strong unless you lift weights or lift solid objects, you know, over your head and build your body. They have to. Fitness is one of the most important things because the discipline you learn through doing fitness, you carry on into your business, you carry on into your life, you carry on into your relationships, you carry on to everything else. If you don't become fit, you're weak. If you're weak, no woman's gonna like a weak man. You're gonna become fat. No woman likes a fat man. Everybody, oh yeah, you know, looks don't matter. Bullshit, looks matter. And if you look good, guess what? Everything people are gonna notice. And they're gonna say, oh damn, he looks like he trains. You do fitness? You a trainer? No, I sell insurance. I'd rather buy insurance from a fit guy than a fat guy.
Right.
Period. You know, it's just part of who you are.
Now, why is that? I mean, I have my perspective, but why do you think a person would rather buy something from somebody who's fit rather than somebody who's out of shape?
Because it shows me that this guy cares enough to spend time taking care of him. And if he can take care of him that way, and I have an issue with my insurance, he's gonna take care of me that way.
Right. So that's where the magic is like that person has discipline.
Yes.
They know how to overcome. I can trust them.
Yes. He'll have discipline to do my paperwork right. He'll have discipline to set me up. He'll have discipline to fix my problems if I run into one, you know, because he has the discipline to keep himself in check. You know, but if somebody pulls up fat, busted tie, double chin, it looks like he freaking slept in his outfit, how am I going to expect this guy to take care of me if I have a problem?
Right. Piece of food.
It ain't gonna happen. Slob.
Absolutely, man. I totally agree. What do you think is the number one problem right now in society?
Again, it has to do with the youth. I think the number one problem is that there is not enough emphasis on creating strong children to become strong men. You know, that stuff of you know, cavemen and stuff, you don't even hear about that anymore. It's the cavemen that used to go out, hunt, not buy, hunt food, yoke that damn freaking elk, bring that stuff back so we can have food to eat. If this country continues to go the way it's going, that will cease to exist. It'll just be a tale, right? I want to go out there and go hunt for my food because guess what? If one day there's a famine and we have no food to buy, we're going to have to do that.
Yes.
You know, we have to teach these guys how to do things, teach them how to fix cars, teach them how to fish, teach them how to climb trees, let them fall. My kids don't be on iPhones. You know, when before my wife and I got separated, no, you want to play? Yeah, go in the yard. You see that tree? Climb that tree. Let me know when you get to the top. Wood all over the place. Yeah, get that wood. Carry all that wood on the other side of the property. It was that kind of stuff. They need to become men. And I don't know what's happening. And maybe this is not the subject for that, but this he, she, it, her, that what is that? I don't understand that. This whole woke thing, it's just like, I don't get it. I don't get it. A man is a man. A woman is a woman. I like her. She likes me. We procreate. We live life happily ever after. I saw some on TV the other day. She said, yeah, he can get pregnant. You know how insane that sounds? Right. He can get pregnant. It's just.
It's a toxic environment that we're in.
Very toxic.
Very
toxic.
And is out of touch with reality. Yeah. And here I go back to the rational brain. That's why Stoicism was so important. We spoke about a little bit we touched on Marcus Aurelius and a little bit about the art here and stuff like that.
Yes.
Gladiators, things like that. We as men were forced to live in reality, and thank God for that. Because we, the roads that are built, these buildings here that we look at every day, everything that's tangible and it's where we grow and where we expand. It's real. You could touch it, you could create it, you could build it. Most people who are not creating, who are not doing anything real, they take all this shit for granted. And society has, I think, first of all, there's not a lot of men in the home, which is a problem.
Yes.
Do not give enough credit to the people who are working the blue collar jobs.
Right.
Because they're really the ones who are not only maintaining but creating.
They build these things.
They really are. So they build our gyms and all of our things. And I like to be handy and stuff like that. I definitely do, because I see so much value in that. But I think that's the issue. And the issue is just being out of touch with reality.
Right.
And they're out of touch with reality because they're not in the youth. They're not being taught, and they're not being put in situations where they need to figure things out.
Right.
Everything's just given. Here you go. iPad, phone, TV, everything just given. Right. So then the person who takes becomes, they just think that everything should be given, and then from there they just don't grow.
Yeah,
it's a problem.
Horrible. It's very big problem.
I totally agree. And unfortunately, it's unfortunate that things are like that, but I do believe that things have to kind of readjust at some point. And moments like this, where we're having this conversation, a genuine conversation about growing up, going through hard times, and accepting them, and realizing that we also have to almost like give them to our kids, so they become the next version.
And if it's not given to them, they're lost.
Right.
And that's what we don't want.
No, I totally agree, man. So as that's what we talk about, the fitness. We talk about the business. You are also an NPC judge.
Judge, correct.
Right? So you're judging a lot of these people who go and build themselves in the gym.
Correct.
So we have a good listener base that is pretty much really like, fisiculturistas, right? Mm-hmm. They're getting their bodies ready for these competitions, going through hell or high water. I mean, I've seen them, you know what I'm saying? So I know what they're doing. And you've been there.
I have.
When you're judging,
yes,
what are you looking for?
Okay, so look, there's 5 to 7 judges on each panel. And
is this amateur, pro, or
this is NPC amateur?
NPC amateur.
Right.
Okay.
There's 5 to 7 judges, and obviously, each judge has his own opinion of what he thinks the perfect body should be. Some judges, like morenitas. Some judges like, rubitas, light skin, blonde hair, curly hair, straight hair, Chinese, white. Every judge has their own opinion. But the one thing that we have to look at is the standard. What is the standard for a bikini athlete, girl? And so they have standards in the federation where the bikini athlete should be slightly, have a little muscle, like she looks like she works out, but not so much that she has veins. And if she has cuts on the legs, it's too much. So that's not going to be good for bikini. So we have standards that we have to look at. And the best standards to look at is who is the bikini winner of the Miss Olympia. That is the trend we want to go to. That is the trend we want to see. And so now we take that and we look down, and now we look on stage and we're like, okay, who closely resembles that standard, right? Same thing for bodybuilders. Now, bodybuilding and classic physique obviously are two different categories. One has the more classic look from yesteryear, like an Arturo type, right? And then one has like the Dorian Yates, big, muscular, veiny, boxy, looking like a granite statue, right? Two different types of categories, and each one has their standard, right? So again, some people in the crowd might be like, yeah, but he was robbed. But you're looking at it from your set of eyes and not really knowing why he won.
Right.
There are reasons why people win and when people lose. And we have to, deal with that when these athletes finish the show and come ask for critique. Oh, but I was better than that guy. Yeah, but you were still holding like 4% of water, So when that gets rid, I'm sure you're going to be, And so we have to, tread lightly with how we give our critique, because, we're not in the business of shooting anybody's dreams down. We're in the business of encouraging their dreams and helping them get better by the advice we give them. But a lot of the times, the reasons why these guys are not winning is because they're not putting in the work they're supposed to. One extra cheat meal, one extra, refeed, which, by the way, nowadays, when we were freaking going, there was no cheat meals. Now you get refeeds and cheat meals and all kind of stuff. But, when I train my athletes, they win because I don't do any of that stuff. For what? You've been refeeding for 10 years before you started this prep. Why do you need a refeed?
Right.
And so, which is one of the reasons why when Arturo and I worked together, he did so well. I mean, he won the show he wanted to win. But it's, and he could tell you, FT, you made me drink that thing and I had no water. And I was like, dude, I'm sorry, man. This is what we got to do, man.
Right.
And back in the day, they left bodybuilding to come out last. So they had to be there at 9 in the morning and they came out like at midnight with no water, no food. Now they put bodybuilders on first because they already know, damn, these guys could freaking pass out back there. So there is a standard, and we have to follow the standard no matter what we feel about, our opinion about how he or she looks.
Yeah, and you've been on both sides.
Yes.
You've been on both. So tell me about, because you became IFBB at 40.
At 40, correct.
So, I mean, why at that age? I mean, is obviously that was probably what you had to go through, but you did it at that age. How much harder is it to do it?
For me,
let's say that versus 20, 30.
Well, the difference is when you're 20 and 30, you have a lot more, your body's a lot more, what's the word I want to use? It can take more abuse. In other words, you can do, super supplements for a longer time and stay healthier, and knowing this, the older you get, you have to tread lightly and say, hey, you know what? I don't want to choose to do this super sub because I know this affects this in a negative way and I don't want to cross that barrier and so on and so forth. But, I did it because I liked competing. In fact, the only reason why I turned pro was because I enjoyed competing, and the next show that was next on the line was a pro qualifier. So I knew when I get ready, I go balls to the wall, and I really do get ready. So I said, damn, the next show is in Pennsylvania. I love competing, so I'm just gonna go. And I went, and it turns out that I end up winning first place, and I turned pro that day. And I didn't realize it, because you never think you're gonna win when you're like, you're standing up on the finals, and they're like, and number 3 is this person, and I'm looking down like, oh shoot, they haven't called me yet. And number 2 is that person. I'm like, wait a minute. And then they said, and number 1, they called my number, and I had to look down to make sure it was me. And but when you turn pro, to some people it's such a big thing you know, I expected like confetti or some shit, somebody to come out. And, you know, you get off stage, they're like, congratulations, bro. And you walk. I went home. The next day came. Nothing changed.
Right. Just another day in the office.
No calls.
Right.
No post. And like 6 months passed, I'm like, oh, like, I call, I'm like, are we supposed to get like a card or something that indicates that we're pros? Oh, yeah, you have to fill out an application and send it in with a $250. I'm like, oh, damn, man. So, you know, our goals are our own, but we're not going to be celebrated for that. You know, we celebrate ourselves for accomplishments we make, you know, and if you're expecting something, you know, to pop off in the sky when you reach your goal of becoming a pro, you got another thing coming.
You're in the wrong business.
Yeah.
What is the hardest thing about preparing for a show? Like, is it the training? Is it the eating? Is it a mix of both?
It's
psychology. What is it?
It is. It starts with the mindset. You have to be mentally ready to put yourself into this boot camp, for lack of a better term, of doing away with everything that you know is normal or has been normal in your life for the past how many years you're alive. You have to now train a certain way, which you never did. You have to now eat a certain way, which you never did for an extended period of time. You have to now do cardio a certain way for an extended period of time. And the eating and the cardio and the training gets more intense. The eating gets less, the cardio gets more, the training gets harder. Why? Because now you're drained. And now, on top of all that, you're married or you have a relationship or you have kids and you have a job. And when you put your body through that type of rigorous situation, your brain starts to malfunction, right? You're at work, you start missing stuff. You get there with an attitude. You're no longer the pleasant person you used to be because you're not eating. You're drained. You're always tired. You are not performing in bed the way you used to with your other half because now you're hormonally jacked up. And nobody likes you. The only person that can stand you is you when you look in the mirror. And even then you're upset because you're not getting in shape as fast as you want to get in shape. But what people don't realize is the body doesn't change until it's ready to change. You know, so it's a number of things. And then when you go to the gym, you start pissing other people off because they're like, yo, why's this guy got an attitude all the time? You know, nobody's putting a gun to your head to do this, bro. You chose to do this. Act accordingly, right? And, you know, it's a myriad of things that really affect people. And you have to have this in order to be able to switch all that and smile when you don't want to smile and say, hey, how are you? Everything good? You know, when you don't want to do that.
So would it be mindset then?
Mindset, number one.
Mindset.
Without that, you can't do anything else.
But are you ever ready?
What do you mean?
You know, you said you got to be first, like you said, your mindset you have to be ready to do all of that. Like, are you ever really ready until you're there and you're like...
No. About half of the people that embark on this journey fail. They end up cheating out of this diet. They end up messing things up. And then when they report back to their coach, why are you 2 pounds heavier? And why do you look like shit? What's going on? You're supposed to be improving, not regressing, right? And so they realize that, I don't know if I can do this. Mentally, they were never ready. But those who have that strong mindset, maybe they didn't know they had the strong mindset. They just, I just got to grind. I just got to do it. 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 And they get it done. Most people, 1 week left, shit the bed.
And I'm close, huh?
Why would you do that? Are you fucking out of your mind? You 1 week, 7 days, hours away, and you're gonna do this? Yeah, it's pretty shitty, but they do.
Wow.
Yeah.
So out of 50% people drop off automatically. How many out of that 50%? How many go all the way?
All the way where?
To like the show. Like I'm talking about to
the show. To the show,
you know.
I would say about 40% get to the show. About 3% are 100% dialed in. And what does that mean? That means that when you're on stage, that 3% person on stage versus that other percent next to him, that other guy is holding a little water. That other guy looks a little softer than this guy. This guy is granite. This guy is peaked. This guy is 100%. And those things, that difference can happen in the last week. You drink too much water, you're gonna spill over. You carb up too much, you're gonna spill over. You have too much salt, you're gonna spill over. You take away the salt, you're not gonna load up. It's so many variables that you almost have to be a scientist to embark on one of these things. And what kills me the most is that all these, amateur athletes that want to compete, they pick a coach like it's just buying a pair of socks. You have to do research on the coach that you are electing to take you and put hormones in you and take you to the top. You know more about your freaking car, the horsepower, the gas it takes, than you know about the coach that's going to go and play with your hormones. Why is that? I tell people, look, it may not be me that you hire, but when you do hire somebody, ask them how many shows they've done. Ask them how many athletes they've prepped. Ask them if they can contact the athletes they've prepped. Because if you did a good job, the athlete's going to rave about you.
Yeah.
If you did a shitty job, they're going to talk bad about you.
Right.
But people don't ask that. And I'm like, why? I always do that. I always did that. And I've always picked the best coaches. And I've learned from Olympia coaches. They're expensive, but I ain't got time to waste. I ain't got time to lose. I want to go to the guys that do it the best and pay them to skip over 10 years of figuring it out. They have the answers. I get them. I get in the best shape of my life. And that's how I did it.
Yeah, I mean, you need a professional coach to do professional shit.
Absolutely, 100%. And there are several in that realm. It's just like, okay, now which one of these superstars do I pick? In my case, I just didn't want to do one. I did about 5 of them. So I learned 5 different ways to get myself on the stage in the best condition of my life. And now those becomes tools in my tool bag to deal with the people I got to deal with now.
So the people that you got to deal with now, people are coming to you when they want to train for a professional.
When they want to train to be on stage.
How do you determine if it's somebody that you want to work with, or is that even a thing?
I ask questions. Why do you want to do this? Because when you dig, you find out if they're going to go all the way or not. What's your favorite food? Oh, this. Okay. By their favorite foods, I know they make it or not.
Really?
Because if their favorite foods are those foods that they can get anywhere and they have at home, they have them there. They're gonna cheat. But if they say, "Oh, well, you know what? I like that restaurant where they cook in front of you," but I don't go there often. They don't have that at home, so chances are they're not gonna be able to do that all the time, unless I send them to go get that. Which at times there is a time in the training where the thyroid slows down, the body stops responding. You've been on a diet so long that it's affecting you in such a negative way that only a coach has that eye to tell. Do me a favor tonight. Go over there and get like two rolls of sushi and have that and have this and have that. But why? Like coach's orders, go do it. Then the next day they lose 2 pounds and they start moving the needle again. It's one of those phenomenons.
That's that. I mean, that is scientist.
It's and not everybody's the same. To some people, it happens at 8 weeks. To some people, it happens at 14 weeks. And then you tell the story, and they're like, "Oh, so then I can have burgers?" I'm like, "No, you had a burger freaking for the last 8 years. Stop."
What about all these guys that are posting on their social media? They're like pizzas and burgers, and you could eat whatever you want. I could teach you how to lose weight.
First of all, I think that's a hook. So in the marketing world, we have something called hook story offer, where that's the hook where it gets people to pay attention. And then when they opt in to talk about his story, how I got this and blah, 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 and then they'll say the offer, which is how they get you to buy their crap, right? But if you know that's bullshit, right? It's like who had that Weight Watchers? Like you have a breakfast meal, you have a lunch, and you have a sensible dinner. them chicks are still fat. That shit don't work, right? But they want to hear what they feel they want to hear. And if they hear somebody saying it, they're like, oh, I can do this, I can do that, I'm buying that program.
Right.
But then that's all bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, the body works a certain way. And I've tried everything. I've been doing this since 17 years old. So I know what works. I know what doesn't. I've hired the best in the world to do it to me. And so you learn a lot from that. And you learn a lot from training people. A lot of my clients that I learned on I took them for free. I didn't charge them. And they were glad to do it. And I learned a lot that way. And they learned a lot that way.
So now, how much of an impact? Because I want to think about it from the coach's point of view, right? If I may, you take in a person that you wholeheartedly believe in, and you start working with them. Obviously, okay, cool, it's a paying client, or maybe not, but you start spending a lot of time, energy, and belief into them as well. How much does that affect you? How many people can you train at a time for real? Like, how does that work from the coach's perspective?
That's a great question, because there are coaches who say they have 50, 60, 70, 80 clients. There's no way that you're giving everybody the attention they need to get them in the best shape of their life if you got that many clients. People are going to fall through the cracks. Things are going to go that you're not going to notice. You're just going to forget stuff. There's no way. I've handled up to 10 comfortably, and I know, and I've said to myself, damn, I get like 2 or 3 more, it's gonna be jacked. So I know my parameters. 10's the max I go. For competition. For lifestyle, it's different. For lifestyle, I can take 40, 50, 60, which is when other people say that, I'm thinking, is that competition or is that lifestyle? You know, but everybody likes to throw these numbers out. I don't know if they're true or not.
Right. So 10 is probably the max when you're really actually spending that much time with a person. And
yeah,
you're probably seeing these people almost daily, no?
It depends. In the beginning, they're checking in once a week. If you're physically training with them, you're seeing them either 2 or 3 times a week, whatever they've paid for you to train. I want to hire you. I want to train with you 3 times a week. I want to train with you 5 days a week. Some of them are like, no, I just need the coaching and the diet and the protocols and all that, and I'll do my own training. Cool. But if you have 10 people and they're all coming 5 days a week, it's one of those things where you're dog chasing the tail. You're getting nowhere. You're trying, you're burning yourself out. You're not going to be 100% for them. It's not going to work. It's not. I mean, they have issues. You can't look when I get somebody. I speak for myself. When I get a client, I'm so invested in that person's success that I get emotionally involved too. And when they fail, I fail. So I'm giving 100%. So when they do something dumb, I'm like a dad with a kid.
Right.
I'm like, oh, what's wrong with you? And they don't want to disappoint you. And sometimes they lie. And the worst is when you catch them in the lie.
Yeah. Yeah, but they're coming to you because they're also looking for somebody kind of like whip them into shape and really tell them, to tell them the truth, to be honest with them and just check them when they need to be checked.
It's a phenomenon, because they do that. They pay a lot of money, because I'm not cheap. They pay a lot of money, and you find them in a corner eating Oreos.
So what do you do when you see that?
when I catch them, and I gotta be very political, I guess.
Or do you turn into PI, Tony?
I do, but here's how I do it. Here's you gotta check in. Send me your pictures. So I look at the scale. Shit's 2 pounds heavier. I look at the body. It looks like shit. It looks worse. I'm like, all right. So I say just like this. Typically when we have a situation like this, it's generally user error. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, well, let me ask you a question. How was all of your cardio this week? They're like, oh, 100%. I did everything. Okay, how was the training? Did you miss a day? Did something happen? No, I did all my training. Oh, okay. Okay, so talk to me about what you had to eat today. And they're like, no, I had this, I had that, and that. Well, yesterday, and then yesterday, my daughter had some friends over. You know, it was the girl's birthday and this and that, and I had a little, and that's where it comes out.
Right, right, right.
I'm like, are you aware that on the list that I gave you of things to eat, that was not on the list? She goes, yeah, yeah. She goes, but I didn't think it was gonna be that bad. I'm like, let me tell you something. Everything you do that's not on that list, it's gonna be bad. And I want you to get on that stage looking 100%. And everything you do that's not on that list is going to take you away from that 100%, 98, 97, 96. So it's up to you how good you want to look up there. But I'll tell you one thing, unless you go up there 100%, you're not going to win. You understand that? And they're like, so they don't realize how this is not a preparation for a beach body. I can do that for you. That's what, and I try to sway them away from competition because I see this is going nowhere really fast. So I try to be on their side. Look, maybe this is not for you at the moment. No, I think I can do it. You know, so they have no idea sometimes what they're going into. You know, I want to be there to help them, but I just don't think that they understand what they signed up for. So now I'm trying to get them onto a lifestyle plan where they can look fantastic for the beach, but not so extreme that you got to be a hermit for the next 24 weeks, you know, to be on this stage.
Right. So that's about the process to really get somebody.
Depends. It can be, if you're in good shape, it could be 12 weeks. If you're a fat bastard, it could be 36, 48 weeks.
Right.
You know, I've had guys on preps for 48 weeks. You know, and I'm like, and then when we win, they come back. I'm like, listen, this makes no sense. You bulking up to this for what? When you come back down, you're still going to be the same weight that you were yesterday. So what muscle tissue did you actually gain? You're just getting fat to get fat. So forget about that word bulking. Let's just eat clean, eat more of the clean stuff, and train harder, and we'll see a good amount of return on that.
Now, is this something that because you started as a chef?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the business.
Mm-hmm.
Is this something that you found passion in, and you're like, you know what, I'm actually working on my calling? Is that something that you feel like you're at right now?
No, training athletes is not my calling. My calling is changing people's lives and getting them from fat to fit. Now, if I'm really good at prepping because that's how I got into it, but I'm quickly seeing that the difference between lifestyle people, athletes, and competition athletes is that the lifestyle athletes are so appreciative of what you're doing for them because you're changing their lives. Their sex is better, their relationship with their wife is better, the relationship with the kids are better, they're making better choices. All these things are happening to them, and they love it, and they want to pay you more money to do that. Where on the flip side, on the athlete side, you have to watch them all the time, make sure they're not cheating, they're always miserable, they're always giving you attitude. And then when they do bad, they blame you. When they do good, they take the credit. And then they don't want to pay what you're worth, and it's just bad. That's why I'm very selective with who I pick when I train. I'd rather train an athlete that I know it's really good. I'd rather train them for free because I know they're not going to be a problem. And I know I can take them all the way.
That's pretty interesting, man.
You know?
Yeah. But that's a lot of experience. So obviously that's experience talking.
Yep. It comes with that. And it's just in a way, it's a weird dynamic. And you almost want to get on a mountaintop and scream at these people. But it's like, come on, guys. Like, you chose to do this.
Right.
If your why is big enough, and you can't tell me that, I understand. If your child saw a bodybuilder and looked at you and said, Dad, can you do that? That's a great motivation and a real reason to go, because you're doing it for somebody, other than yourself, right? But if your why is just because you say, oh, that's cool, I want to do that, that's not enough.
Yeah. If you have a strong enough why, you could almost endure
anything.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What's in storage for you? Like what is your next goal? What do you want to accomplish?
I just want to, it's weird, but I want to change everybody that comes across my person. I can help in one way or another. It could be NLP. I'm NLP certified, neuro linguistic programming. It could be psychological. I used to drink. I don't drink no more. It can help you with alcoholism. You have girly issues. Guess what? I had a ton of those. I can help you with what you're going through right now. I've been through it. I've been pretty much through everything that everybody's gone through in their lives. So, the best remedy to help somebody is to seek advice from someone who went through it. Right. So I can't find anything I haven't gone through, which is why, I want to give. And it's funny, like I've realized that the older I get, the more I want to give, the more I want to help, the more I want to, provide,
No, I definitely appreciate that. And I appreciate you being open with it. Obviously here, this is not just for me, it's for the people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Empire is the Way is a philosophy that just kind of shares knowledge of people who know more than me about specific subjects, where they can kind of like share their life story, but with the purpose of giving people the ability to like level up.
Right.
And not only that, but have a resource. Like, for example, right now, if somebody wanted to reach out to you and have a little bit of Tony, a piece of Tony, like a little bit of piece of Tony's time, do you have that availability right now?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've always said, I have mentors too. I believe a coach who doesn't have a coach has a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I have my mentors, and I learn a lot of things from my mentors. And they're not cheap. I've been coached by Wes Watson. I've been coached by Yados. I've been, a bunch of guys that are really heavy hitters. And I've been in some of the darkest places. And because these guys have coached me, I've risen, to places now where like I couldn't fathom being at. You know what I mean? So, becoming the best version of you, and, now sharing that with someone who you want to help get to that place. That's one of those things.
No, absolutely. And I commend you for that. And I appreciate you being open with it, because not everybody's ready to just be open and speak about their life story. And I feel that typically that happens with entrepreneurs, business owners, people who've done something in the world. It's kind of like we get to that point where you just like need to open up and share that experience, right? Because we know that it's more than just about us.
Right.
It's more than me. It's about the movement, the legacy. What am I leaving behind? And those are the type of things, I like to think about it when I'm talking here. One of the things I like to think about is like, I'm talking to my future kids. I'm honoring those who came before me and paving the path for those who are coming after me. So that's who I'm talking to. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It just is what it is, man. And I'm enjoying it. And I'm enjoying opening up and talking to people like yourself, people who have different experiences or similar experiences, but you have your own perspective. So I want to give you a platform to be able to talk about it,
Appreciate that.
No, 100%. I appreciate you more. For sure. So where can people find you if they want to reach out to you, if they want to subscribe, they want to, a piece of Tony?
You can find me at SpartanBodyFormula.com. You can go to Instagram at IFBB Pro Tony Torres. You can come down to the gym. I mean, if you come down to the gym and say you saw it here, train for free. You know what I mean? It's at Iron Temple Gym, and same as the Instagram, Iron Temple Gym. And that's where you can find me. So
we're putting all of that on the description. As you guys know, follow Tony. Make sure you get to the gym, check it out. And yeah, man, I'm really happy to have you here, brother. Likewise. I really appreciate it. And we'll do a part 2. In the part 2, I guess we could talk about
everything else.
Everything else. I didn't even get to touch on this one because, we got society, all kinds of, your own personal opinion on different things, man. And I would love to hear it and some advice for the boys and the girls.
Definitely, for sure.
Bro, thank you, man.
Thank you for having me, man.
Absolutely, man. And all day, every day, Empire is the way.